You're thinking about making the move to Strongsville, Ohio, but you want to know the good and the bad, the pros and the cons, the yin and the yang? Well, in today's video, we're going to do just that. We're going to review the pros and the cons so that you can decide whether it's going to be a good fit for yourself and your family. Now, of course, we can jump more into the real estate side of things when you give us a call or reach out in some degree, but for now, we're going to take a look at the pros and cons, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you're new to the channel and you want to know all things about living in Cleveland, Ohio, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you can be notified when we release a new video so that you stay up to date and current on all things Cleveland. My name is Kip Sweeney with Living Cleveland, Ohio, powered by Mancuso Homes, and we get calls from people just like yourself every single day looking to move in 9 days or 9 months, whatever that may be. We're here to help and make sure there's a smooth transition to Cleveland, Ohio. Our contact information is in the description box below, so make sure to reach out in some degree and we'll be happy to help. However, we are going to now take a dive into the pros and cons of Strongsville, Ohio. Let's go. So for our first pro today, we're going to look at the location of Strongsville, Ohio. It is in a nice location where it's got easy access to 2 freeways, I-71 and 480, which really makes this an easy location to get to downtown Cleveland, about, let's say, 15 minutes. So if you're looking to have maybe a job downtown, or you're looking to go to some of the bars, or you're looking to go to a sporting event in Cleveland, Ohio, well, you don't have to worry about making such a long drive. Sure, maybe a little longer, that 15-minute drive if it's an event or if there's added traffic. However, you are close and you're not too far away, so it makes it very easy for those looking to have the job or to have the access to downtown, but also while being able to come back home to that suburban area, that quieter neighborhood and area and lifestyle. This allows you to kind of have best of both worlds, but also without having to make such a long drive. Or, for example, if you're going to an event and let's say you have to Uber, well, at least you know you're not going to be paying anything too crazy for, say, a 30 or 45-minute ride, depending on where you are. It's a 15-20-minute drive, which is nice. So for Uber, that's not going to be, the worst. It's not going to break the bank, especially if you're sharing it with a friend or a family member or something of that nature, right? So it's a nice location to be able to get downtown, to enjoy the amenities that downtown Cleveland has, but also be able to come back home and enjoy that quiet and suburban feel. All right, so the next pro is going to be just the amenities. Strongsville has everything you need. You don't need to leave Strongsville for anything unless you're going to a sporting event downtown or doing something specific that is going to drive you out of Strongsville. But you have your healthcare and your hospitals, you have your shopping, your dining, you have your parks, your recreation centers. You have everything that you need in Strongsville, which makes it very nice to get around and to do these things pretty easily. So depending on what you're looking for, if you want a walking trail or sports field, you have that in Strongsville. If you want a gym, plenty of them in Strongsville. If you're looking for a nice restaurant, you have that in Strongsville. Or, of course, if you want to find a nice large mall, you have that South Park Mall in Strongsville, which hosts many different businesses and restaurants and stores where you're going to be able to buy a multitude of items. Really, whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it in Strongsville. We're going to touch a little bit on this in the cons section. However, you're going to find whatever it is you're looking for in Strongsville, so it makes it nice where you can get around Strongsville and do whatever you need without having to go to the next city over, without having to drive too far away. You know that everything's going to be in a 5 to 15-minute radius, depending on traffic and what you're looking for and what you want to do. The schools. If that's part of your criteria, you're probably wondering, how are they? Well, I can't specifically say as a real estate agent how these schools are, but I can advise you to check out greatschools.org or niche.com to kind of do your own research and check them out for yourself. But I can tell you they are ranked well. And I can say that you have charter schools, public schools, and your private schools all within Strongsville. So if you're looking for one of those three, whichever one you choose, you have that there, because obviously you will be looking for one of them if that's part of your criteria. But I will also include within these schools, you have your sports, you have your arts, and you have good academia. So you can't go wrong. You can just trust that if your kid wants to play sports, you have that option. If they want to take the arts route, they can have that as well. Whichever their interests and their hobbies lead them to, they have those options within the school district in Strongsville, Ohio. Next up, let's talk about the affordability. So compared to the other suburbs in Cleveland, Ohio and surrounding, Strongsville has one of probably the most affordable areas where you're gonna be able to find homes that fits every single need as well. So whether you're looking for a large home with a lot of space, a big yard, and things like that, you're gonna be able to find that. But on the flip side, if maybe you're like, we need to downsize, we need to downsize and we don't need all that. We don't need a huge yard because we don't want to take care of it. We don't need a ton of room in the house. You can find that as well. So Strongsville really has every layout or home that you're looking for, whether that's a lot of space or maybe a little smaller yard or bigger yard, closer or further away from some things, proximities, HOAs, they have that with pools in the communities, your traditional neighborhoods where you're gonna come in with a nice entrance and you're gonna be able to see, not cookie cutter homes, but you're gonna be able to see just kind of a vast and pretty clean neighborhood with homes surrounding that. Most of them, or some of them, do have that community pool, that neighborhood, that playground that kids can go and play out with a small park. And then of course you do have your houses and your homes that are outside of those communities where you're not gonna have to pay that HOA, where you're not gonna have those amenities within the neighborhood. So whether you're looking for that HOA to have those amenities, whether you don't want that, you'll be able to find that in Strongsville. And then when it comes to the actual price of the home, not that bad. You're gonna get a good value in Strongsville for the price of the home. However, it will lead to a con, which in this case is the fact that these homes do go fast. People do want to buy in Strongsville. So if these homes come onto the market that are priced well, that look good, the condition is nice, and everything is there that someone's looking for, they will go fast, and many times they might go for above asking, depending on how it's marketed. So it is something to note, and that is a con. So sometimes, not saying it's difficult to get into the Strongsville market, but it is going to be something where you have to act fast. Now there are plenty of homes, there's a larger population, so you should be good and you will be okay to get into these homes, depending on what you're looking for, of course. Now, if you really start to break down and you cut that criteria and you make it pretty specific, then sure, it might take a little longer. But, everyone's different, so there is that home for everyone. You really are gonna be able to find what you want in Strongsville, Ohio. Everyone is going to be able to find that no matter the criteria. Now, the time frame for that, that might change, right? But the affordability, it's there for Strongsville. You get a lot, you do get a good value for the money, and you're gonna be able to find everything that you want, or very, very close to that in Strongsville, Ohio. One additional pro is the history. Strongsville does have a nice history to it and a historical charm that they've done a pretty nice job of kind of preserving. And they actually do tours that you can go and you can pay for, and they can take you around. There are some historical areas in Strongsville, and they do nice with the village and downtown and center. It looks really neat, and it's nice with the historical buildings. However, the history isn't going to be obviously the main point of Strongsville, similar to what maybe Chagrin Falls will be like. But it is something to kind of enjoy, to take into consideration, to look into, and to have fun with. Let's jump into the cons. So one of the big cons though, having already spoken about the fact that you can get everything you want and everything you need in Strongsville, which is true. One of the cons that comes with that though, is that all of these things are commercial places, commercial restaurants or businesses, a chain of some manner. So if you're looking for something where you want kind of a local business, or you want to support those local businesses in some way, it's not going to be in Strongsville as much. Maybe some coffee shops here and there, but nothing too crazy. You're really going to be filled with those chain restaurants and stores and businesses. And that's one of the cons, as maybe someone that might want to have more of that local aesthetic and feel and the businesses surrounding them. Strongsville doesn't really offer that, but in the flip side, they offer the fact that you can have everything to your disposal very easily. But depending on what you're looking for and what you want, you have to kind of weigh that and that con depending on what it is that you're looking for. So continuing with the fact that you have a lot of chain stores, something else with Strongsville that you may not like, depending on who you are and what your interests are, is the history. You're not going to get a lot of the history from Strongsville that you might with Chagrin Falls, for example. So it's something to take into consideration and to think about as well. It depends on your interests and your wants. However, that's something to note. One of the cons that comes with the fact that there are all these businesses, all these chains and retail stores and restaurants is the fact that that's the job market, right? So really the main source is going to be your retail, your services, and your healthcare. Now, if you're someone that might be in finance or might be in tech, you might need to look outside of Strongsville to find that job. Now, if that's okay, then you could disregard this con. However, if you're someone that really wants to stay local and stay nearby your house and be very close and don't want to deal with downtown or a busier area where you're going to find these jobs, then Strongsville, may not offer that opportunity in that employment area. So that's something to keep in mind depending on what you're going to be doing for work and where you want to work day in and day out. Now, with the growth of Strongsville comes construction, which might lead to traffic, but also might lead to noise. Depending on who you are, where you're living, it could be nearby. So that could be a con to think about. But most importantly, the increased population of Strongsville could lead to an overcrowding in the schools in Strongsville. Now, this is something to think about. It's not for sure con. It's not something that's happening, that's there right now, but it's something to think about with the growth, because depending on what that teacher to student ratio you want for your child or for your children, it may grow over time. So you might see a little less of the smaller classrooms and smaller classes that may get changed out for larger classrooms and a lot more for teachers to handle, so that one-on-one attention may diminish. But it depends on what you're looking for, the schools that you're looking for. Again, please do your research on these if this is part of your criteria, but it's something to keep in mind as the population does continue to grow. Sometimes the infrastructure, like the schools, can't always handle it. So that is something that could be something in Strongsville, a problem in Strongsville, a con, I should say, in Strongsville. It's not a for sure thing, it's not a surefire thing, but it's something to keep in mind and to look into depending on the area that you're going to be in Strongsville and what your other needs are. Another con is the nightlife. So there aren't going to be a ton of bars or clubs. There are bars, right? But there's no clubs or anything like that you might find in downtown Cleveland or in some other areas. So it's something that if you are single, if that's something you like to do, it may be tough for you to do those things without having to drive to downtown or going to maybe a more low-key or relaxed, laid-back bar that is nearby, or even a chain. Some of these bars are chains, some of them are in those restaurants. Depending on what it is that you're looking for, it may be hard to find in Strongsville, Ohio when it comes to that nightlife and when it comes to things to do. Now, of course, this is all per person and what it is that interests them, but keep that in mind. If you are single, it's going to be more of a family-oriented atmosphere in Strongsville. Now, there are things to do where you can meet people and things to enjoy, but if it's the bar scene or the nightclub, you're not going to find that in Strongsville. Now, another con is the fact that everything is pretty spread out, which is good, right? You might think that, there's not going to be much traffic, or I'll be able to easily get around. However, the city is very car dependent. You're not going to have very many opportunities to walk unless you do live in a neighborhood that allows you to kind of walk around, or you go to a park and you go on the trails and you kind of take that route. But you aren't going to really be able to walk the city. You're not going to be walking around Strongsville very much unless you drive to the areas you want to walk. So that can be a little bit of a con for some people that might want that smaller town, downtown feeling. You're not going to find that in Strongsville, unfortunately. And along with that is the fact that public transportation isn't going to be the strongest in Strongsville. So another thing that you might want to keep in mind if that's something that you need. With a growing population in Strongsville, you are going to see an increase in traffic, so that could deter some people. Now, depending on where you work and the time of the day that you have to go to work or you're leaving work, you're also going to see that increase in traffic because there is that buildup. There is that buildup where people are coming home or going to work, and you are going to run into that. Along with that traffic, you might see a buildup in traffic around the holidays. People trying to get to South Park Mall to buy some gifts or to go to restaurants, whatever it may be, that is a popular destination for people. So you may see people coming from the outskirts or from nearby cities to go and to do their shopping. Along with this, when you're driving maybe to work, when you're getting to the freeway, you might see a little bit of a bottleneck here around Pearl Road, but also around 71 getting to the freeway. And when on the freeway, if you're going towards downtown, you may see a little bit of that traffic and congestion start to build up at I-71 and 480 where the interchange is, depending on the route that you're taking, of course. But it's all things that you need to take into consideration depending on your job, depending on what you're doing, and of course, depending on what you want within the city, because this might limit the time that you go out. Say you need 1 or 2 items and it's 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, people are coming home from work, but you really needed to run to the store to make dinner or whatever it may be a turnoff for you. You may not want to run to the store at that time because of the traffic that you're going to face, or you may be willing to go and to fight that traffic, but it may not be a pleasant experience. So it's things that that you just need to take into consideration, looking at your daily lifestyle, what you do to understand if this is traffic going to be a trade-off. Am I going to be okay with it? Do I mind? Or can you feel like you're always rushing and the traffic's going to be just kind of a pain in the butt and kind of anger you, frustrate you? So it's something to keep in mind and to kind of look at when choosing where you'd like to live. So to really wrap up our video today, we talked about the pros and cons of Strongsville and what that really looks like. And to kind of summarize some of these pros, right? We have the location, the fact that you could get down to downtown Cleveland very easily, and also the freeway, the access to the freeways being very easy. You have the fact that you have everything in Strongsville. You don't need to really leave Strongsville for anything unless it's something really specific. Now, you have great schools, you have some good parks and community events that allows you to really immerse yourself and become one with them or to meet new people. And you have great affordability. So with the value that you get in Strongsville, that is high, which is nice, allowing you to really find anything that you're looking for, whether that's a larger home, a smaller home, an HOA, no HOA, community, no community, and so on. You get the drift, right? However, jumping into some of the cons, we have the lack of a nightlife, making it a little bit more difficult for someone that's single. You have the fact that it kind of focuses on that healthcare, the services, and the retail jobs. So depending on your job, what you're looking for, you may not find it in Strongsville. You also have the fact that the traffic can build up throughout the year, depending on the time, because of South Park Mall, or because of the growing population, or just the fact that I-71 can start to build up, Pearl Road can start to build up. You can see this traffic build up through Strongsville depending on the time of the day and whether people are going or coming from work. Another con that we talked about was the possibility of the overgrowth in Strongsville with infrastructure and schools and things of that nature. And finally, one last thing that we did talk about was the lack of local businesses downtown in historic environments. So if you're looking for the local businesses, you're not going to find them as much throughout Strongsville. Along with that history, there is some obviously to it, but it's not going to be that historic charm that you kind of get with Sugar Falls, for example. So all these things are something to keep in mind when deciding where you want to be. But obviously feel free to contact me if you want me to clarify anything or to go deeper into anything. I'd be happy to do so, especially with specifics about your individual scenario or situation. Now, if you're from Strongsville or you know about the area and I might have missed anything, please include it in the comments below so others can see that and so that we can kind of help everyone just continue to stay educated so that everyone can make the right choice for themselves. Otherwise, I hope this was a good video and that you enjoyed. Stay tuned for my next one and have a great day. Bye-bye.